So the big news coming out today that Israel has launched a ground incursion into Lebanon. They're of course saying, the Israeli Defense Forces coming out and saying that this is going to be a limited incursion to destroy certain key facilities in southern Lebanon that Hezbollah controls. This is an escalation over what we've seen over the last couple of weeks, but of course is following through with what the chief of the Israeli Defense Forces said just a little while back, that Israeli forces would in fact be heading into Lebanon. Joining us is Ashraf Wani, our reporter on the ground with decades of experience covering conflict, who's now in Lebanon. Ashraf ji, can you tell us a little bit about what is happening with this Israeli incursion into Lebanon? What is the mood in the country about this Israeli incursion?
Shashank, actually, the people are in fear. They did not know what will be the next action of Israel here in the Lebanon, because all the speculations and all the plans what were with the people, they all already got shattered when on 8th of when on Friday Hezbollah headquarters was targeted in the suburb of Beirut, and then on Monday in the Beirut city. So far we had seen the people from south, which is the war zone, South Lebanon, were coming towards the Beirut city and other safer areas like the east part of the Lebanon to find some kind of a safe location. But they now understand that when Israeli defense forces have already made ground invasion in the south, this war is going to escalate, and that means that no place is safe in the Lebanon. That is why we are seeing for last many days that the highway I am currently traveling in, it is connecting the Lebanon with the Syria. This has become the escaping point for the people who are migrating or getting displaced from the South Lebanon, and most of these people who could not afford or have not any kind of facility in the Beirut and in other safer locations of the eastern part of Lebanon, they are heading towards the Syria. During last 7 days, or we can say 10 days, more than 2 lakh people, which are mostly the families of different displaced people, displaced families in the south, they've already reached to the Syria. But today morning there was another attack. Yesterday also there was a strike in the Damascus. That means Syria is not even safe. So mass problem is the common people here are facing. As far as you are talking about the ground invasion, we have to go back to the history when till 2006, Israel was already in South Lebanon. They had occupied that territory. But after the stiff resistance, then 18 years back by the Hezbollah pushed them to move back from the southern parts of the Lebanon. There are some interesting things what we have seen during last 1 year of war going on between the Hamas and the Israel, and also the Hezbollah being one party of it. When Israel started this war step by step after the biggest ever attack on Israel on 7th of October 2023, they set some goals to eliminate their enemies. First of all, their enemy was enemy number one, that was Hamas. Somehow during the 1 year of war, now Israel believes that probably the strength of Hamas has been completely destroyed. Not only the Hamas, but in fact of whole Gaza, where more than 42,000 people, including children, women, and all sections of population got affected. They have put that part of the Gaza on the ground. There is no any facility, there is no any school. Keeping those all developments in mind, the people in the Lebanon think that is that kind of move which Israel will also do in the Lebanon, and they will face same kind of scenario what the people in Gaza are facing. Because after Hamas, Hezbollah is the major enemy of Israel.
If I could ask you, Ashraf sir, is Hezbollah ready to respond to this invasion by Israel? Is the Lebanese government in any position to respond to this Israeli incursion into its territory?
There are concerns among the caretaker government of Lebanon here in the Lebanon, but they cannot do too much. They have already requested to the French, which is the main ally of the Lebanon, who had the stake in the Lebanon. France with the US tried a lot to bring some kind of a ceasefire between the Hezbollah and the IDF, but so far they have not succeeded. And there is also a story and history with the Netanyahu. He is not listening anyone. He is not even listening the main ally and supporter, that is US. And in fact, you might have heard day before yesterday and yesterday also when Biden was asked, he completely rejected any kind of ground invasion by the IDF into the southern Lebanon. But despite his all the warnings, Netanyahu proceeded with it, and they have invaded with the special forces some pockets of South Lebanon. So in coming days, we cannot expect there could be any pressure which could mount on the Israel to stop its aggression against the Lebanon. Only one thing which could stop this war is if and only US will stop the supply chain of weaponry, bombs, and other logistics to the Israel, which is not possible.
Understood, sir. So could I ask you one final question and let you go, because I know that you're extremely busy reporting from Lebanon. Could you tell us a little bit about, you were walking the streets of Lebanon and you have talked to refugees and families who have been fleeing from the conflict. What is their story like right now? Is the government able to provide for them, or they're simply sleeping on the streets? What exactly is happening there?
Actually, these people did not know where to go. They have not any kind of a hope from government. Government can control law and order and other things, but they cannot. There is not any system. What is in Israel? There are shelters. There are space for the displaced people, as they are already very handling the displacement from the northern Israel. But one of the points what I missed during the last conversation is Hezbollah ready. Hezbollah has already warned that Israel should not take easy the ground invasion, and not only the Hezbollah but other militias from Syria and Iraq are already making preparations to foil this invasion of the Israel in the South Lebanon. And in coming days, there will be some heavy battles between the IDF and the Hezbollah, or we can say Iran proxies, in the South Lebanon. And it is not easy task or cat swat for the IDF also. We are aware of it. And so, if any kind of a strong hit IDF faces in this ground invasion, it will be not only the humiliation for them, but also they will put their foot back, because they have kept that window open. Our ground operations are limited into the specific areas. So far, they have not mentioned that they are permanently going to enter the South Lebanon and capturing them. So there will be the eye on that aspect and that progress of this war. That will clearly decide and indicate that what is going to happen, and also the role of Iran will be much watched in this ongoing conflict.
Understood. Ashraf Bani, thank you so much for joining us and for telling us what's going on the ground in Lebanon and explaining the conflict more generally. As Ashraf was telling us that Israel made global headlines this morning when it talked about a localized, limited and targeted raids against Hezbollah in parts of southern Lebanon. Remember that since the October 7th attacks between Israel, where Hamas attacked Israel, what we saw was Hezbollah, which was the militant group in Lebanon that controls large parts of the country, has a significant presence in its economy and its politics, as well as in its military. It also launched limited attacks against Israel, and this has been something that we have seen continuously over the last couple of weeks and months, and in fact over just the last year. Now you've seen over just the last couple of weeks and a heightened Israeli offensive to take down Lebanon, as well as the Hezbollah. More specifically, it has targeted Hezbollah. and we saw the assassination of Hassan Nasarallah, the chief of Hezbollah, as well as several top commanders of this militant group. The group is said to be in disarray. Of course, it says that it will bounce back and appoint a new chief to take on this crisis with Israel. But at this point in time, Israel launching a limited incursion into southern Lebanon to push Hezbollah back, to destroy certain parts of its military fighting capacity. Because remember that these attacks that I was telling you about that Hezbollah has been launching on Israel has displaced around 60,000 people in northern Israel. They're unable to return to their homes. Their physical security has been diminished. So Israel is launching these attacks now to push Hezbollah back and to degrade its military capacity. But of course, as Ashraf was just telling us, that has also created a massive refugee crisis within Lebanon. Over 100,000 people are expected to be internally displaced within that country. It could be even higher than that, as Ashraf was suggesting. But he has, of course, himself talked to several people as well. In fact, he was doing a walkthrough just a little while ago through the streets of Beirut. We just have that visual for you now, and we're going to play it for you.
There is not any kind of let-off in the escalating tensions across the Lebanon. Now the ground invasion has been started by the Israeli defensive forces that has resulted more worries and tensions among the displaced people.
Right, well, sorry for that. The video is upside down, but we will get it fixed and come get it straight back to you. But the basic thing to be remembered here, of course, that Ashraf Ghani was trying to put across in that video, and he's also, we have several visuals that we will put out for you throughout the day of him talking to people on the streets of Lebanon, people who have fled with their families and children to run from this conflict, who really have had no place to go. It is a difficult situation as Israel launches this operation called Northern Arrows. That is the name of the operation that has been thought of or planned by the general staff of the Israeli military, as well as by the Northern Command. Of course, the Israeli forces, as well as the artillery of the Israel Defense Forces, will also be supporting Israel as it makes this attack. The United States has also made clear that Israel has briefed it on these operations. The Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, talked to his Israeli counterpart, Yoav Gallant, and they supported Israel in its try to defend itself, as well as to take on Hezbollah, as well as to degrade Hezbollah's military capabilities and destroy several key Hezbollah outposts. Remember that Israel has, for the last couple of weeks, been launching military strikes in Lebanon that have killed upwards of 600 people. And of course, it launched just a little while ago also those pager attacks that you might have seen on social media, where pagers were made to detonate remotely or so on, and these of course targeted Hezbollah operatives. But that's exactly what we're seeing at this point in time, where Israel has launched a limited ground incursion. America has announced that that it supports Israel's demand to defend itself, to also ensure that Lebanon cannot carry out, or Hezbollah cannot carry out, attacks like the October 7th terror attacks that were seen in Israel. Of course, though, America has also been pulling for a ceasefire in Lebanon. France and the United States have pushed for a 21-day ceasefire. Israel has, of course, made clear that is something that it is not interested in, because, of course, it has now launched this ground invasion into Lebanon, and now there are serious questions. In fact, there is good reporting in the American media talking about how the White House is concerned that Israel is going into southern Lebanon, but there could be this idea of mission creep, which is that when you go in to achieve a limited set of demands, the mission somehow evolves and it expands, and you have to continuously devote more resources and more operational capabilities to a particular operation, which you initially thought was going to be much smaller, but then the operation expands. The military resources need to expand, and the risks that your country faces also expands. Those are going to be some of the key questions that Israel will have to answer as it launches this incursion into southern Lebanon, which it says is again to take down many of Hezbollah's key military capabilities. We will absolutely keep you updated with the latest on the story, the diplomatic push for a ceasefire, but also the military situation on the ground. And of course, we've got Ashraf Ghani, who was kind enough to join us, and we will continue to track this story along with him on India Today Global. Thank you so much for joining us.